Christine Jorgensen, who used to answer to George, creates quite a stir as she returns home to New York from Copenhagen. Christine hit the headlines following the series of operations in Denmark that transformed her from a boy into a girl.
Very impressed by everyone coming.
Christine, are you happy to be home?
Yes, of course. What American wouldn't be?
Have you been offered a movie contract?
Yes, but I haven't accepted it.
Do you have any plans regarding the theater?
No, I don't think so.
Hey, Christine!
Are you going to go on with your photography?
I hope so, yes.
I see. Right.
I'm very happy to be back, and I don't have any plans at the moment. And I thank you all for coming, but I think it's too much.
It was our guest who first flushed the problems of transsexuals into the open. Christine Jorgensen was born a male. She was described in her high school annual as a clever lad. Later, she became a private first class in the Army. Though outwardly a boy, Christine was sexually disturbed. The story of her later discovery and transformation electrified the world. It was the first chapter in a new outlook toward the transsexual phenomenon. And yet I can't believe that yours was the first operation of this type.
It wasn't, Joe. The first one was, I think, done somewhere in the area of 1926 or 27. There was a marvelous doctor in Germany called Magnus Hirschfeld who started the whole investigation in our modern age, let's put it that way. Before that, there may have been others, but I know not of them.
Is this a legal operation in the United States yet?
Oh, yes. Oh, certainly. You know, they're doing it at Johns Hopkins now in Baltimore.
Heavens to Betsy.
Yes, and they're doing it at the University of Minnesota Medical School. They've done 5 cases, to the best of my knowledge, at University of California Medical School.
How many people in your particular predicament do you think there are today? I mean, not those who have successfully, assuming you have successfully bridged the gap, but how many are in that spot where they need this?
Well, I could only judge by what I heard from Johns Hopkins. When I was in Baltimore several weeks ago, Dr. Money and I did a television show together, and he's one of the doctors involved in Johns Hopkins. And he asked me if I thought I knew how many, and I said, I don't have the vaguest idea. And he said, according to his statistics, there should be 30,000 transsexuals of both sides in the United States.
To get it straight, a transsexual and a transvestite differ in that the transvestite is a dressing-up type of homosexual, and you don't claim to be a homosexual.
No, now
I should say you claim you're not a homosexual.
Well, an interesting point. If you say that if I was established and accepted by society for the first 26 years of my life as a male, then my emotional feelings during that period toward another male had to be considered a homosexual emotion in the eyes of society, although I never saw it that way in my own eyes. But again, Joe, may I correct something which has been is very startling, I think, that a transvestite, they have proven statistically that 99% of them are heterosexual. Now, this is even more interesting than ever.
I mean, men who dress up in women's clothing are really, by the world standards, normal sexually?
That's right. It's a very interesting case.
Well, how can that be normal, though, to want to go around that way?
Well, it's hard to say what's normal.
An inside look at the life of San Francisco's homosexuals. They number 90,000 at least, according to police department figures. They work to conceal their sexual orientation by day, and only at night do they show their true colors. The city's downtown Tenderloin district is the home ground of the always visible segment of the city's homosexuals and transvestites. The drag queens are here at Turk and Taylor. So frequent were the fights between screaming queens in the 2 to 3 a.m. period that police, even in permissive San Francisco, had had enough and asked an all-night cafeteria to close by midnight.
What really happened that night at Compton's cafeteria has been all but forgotten. It wasn't a catfight between screaming queens. It was a riot, and it kicked off a new movement for human rights.
We fought for one cause. The cause that we fought for was for individual rights for freedom.
I went out and tried to get a job in men's clothing. No, you're too effeminate. You're a faggot. You're a sissy. You're this. You're that. So I said, well, groovy. So I put on the clothes I usually wear, which is girls' clothes. I went out and tried to get a job as a woman. Yes. This doesn't work. You get a job, you work for a day or two, a week, a month, or whatever it boils down. Somebody comes along that recognizes you, who prefers to be a hooker and a tramp, turns around and turns your name into the boss and says, like, so-and-so is such and such, and that's the end of that job. So finally you reach a point where you get disgusted with the whole damn bit, and what you do is you turn around and you go out on the street. And you find out that you can make $100 a night, and you say, well, the hell with it. Why should I be legitimate? Why should I be respectable? Why should I be anything?
The sudden availability of a transsexual identity. That changed everything.
All this agony and all this pain, all that I have been going through, I finally put a name to it, where I knew where I was going. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew that this is what I wanted to be.
I found out about the word transsexual by reading things about Christine Jorgensen.
Transsexual operations had been carried out in Europe since the 1930s, but most American doctors considered the procedures unethical and refused to perform them. That began to change a month before the Compton's riot, when a San Francisco medical reformer published a path-breaking book.
Dr. Harry Benjamin wrote a book called The Transsexual Phenomenon, which was published in 1966, I believe.
Harry Benjamin, doctor, he gave hormones to everybody.
Oh, Harry Benjamin was a delightful little gentleman, and his book, The Transsexual Phenomenon, was like a guidebook for us.
Benjamin believed a person's gender identity could not be changed, but their bodily sex could. As a result of his work, the first surgical sex reassignment clinic in America would open on the East Coast later that year. Many drag queens in the Tenderloin began to envision a new life for themselves, one that fit better with who they thought they were and what they wanted to be.
If society would let me live my life as I want to live it, which is as a respectable, normal, ordinary woman, period. I don't wear mini skirts. I don't run around with my hair sticking 7 foot off my head and all the rest of the stuff that the queens do, which is a category that I'm classified in as being a common queen, period.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I cannot get away from it. No matter what I do, I'm put into this category. I'm labeled as this.
I was just interested in getting my hormones, getting off the streets, getting an education, fitting into society, getting married and having a life. Quote, unquote, some kind of normal life, rather than living in the Tenderloin.
I think I lasted with my boyfriend for about 2 months. He left me for a real girl. And that really hurt me. So I came back determined that I was gonna have a sex change and have my surgery.
The transsexual path to womanhood offered some Tenderloin queens their first real hope for a brighter future and unleashed in them an uncompromising new attitude.
The closer I came to the time for having surgery, the more risk I took.
It was illegal to dress like a woman, but nobody was gonna stop us.
The girls got together and we just decided that we're human beings. We're allowed to dress any way we want to, whether you accept it or not.